Welcome again, everybody. For all those of you who joined early, I hope you read everything that you saw here on the screen. We had sent your way some free lessons so that you can make best use of the session today. In case you didn't get the chance to go through these, it's okay. Go through them after the session. Together with the session, these files will make sure that you take away the best of the session today. You take with you something that's going to help you in your exam for sure. So here, after now I've talked about this is about further sessions that we're going to conduct. We have always been with you in this journey of your GMAT prep. We keep conducting these free webinars to help you as much as we can. Today, this geometry webinar, and you have 2 more next weekend as well. Next Saturday, which is January 15, same time as today, you have a free GMAT RC webinar, Reading Comprehension, where you'll learn reading strategies that will help even non-voracious readers ace GMAT RC. You don't have to be a reader. You don't have to be somebody who just regularly reads a lot. You will still be able to ace it. And the very next day, Sunday, January 16, again same time, will be a free GMAT number properties webinar. Number properties is a huge section on the exam, a very important section. This session is where you learn a structured approach of solving questions. We will not give you 10 approaches and you will not have to juggle between them. Which one do I use for this? Which one do I use for that? No confusion. One structured approach, one methodical approach. Once you build that, no matter what question the exam throws at you, you will be ready to take it on. So make sure you join these sessions. We'll be waiting for you there. Now, finally, let's talk about this. A lot of you have already voted. If you haven't, vote on this one. This is about when you're planning to take the GMAT. What we see right now is that most of you have not decided. So 38% of you haven't decided when you're going to take it. But then there are a lot of you, 28%, who are taking it in 45 to 60 days. And there are a few, 12% of you, who are taking it in the next 15 days. Well, wherever you are on this spectrum, be assured that you're going to take a lot. All right. I'm sorry, I have some cough today, so a sore throat. If at all I suddenly go mute, it's because that's happening. Atreya will step in if that happens for a little too long. Atreya is our co-host for today. Let's get started. I'm going to bring in the presentation screen and a poll, a yes-no poll. Just mark yes if you can see the PPT, okay? Just mark yes. Okay, great. Thank you. That means everybody can see it. So again, welcome to the session, Geometry 2.0. This is a part of our latest offering of the quant course. This is structured just how our latest quant course is structured, with a lot of feedback for you at every step. You will know, okay, this exercise I just came from. What have I learned? Have I completely learned it? Have I missed something? That level of feedback you're going to see. Without me telling you, we'll just start and I'll show you those things. So everything here on the screen, first of all, you should understand. One place is where you see the PPT. Right on the right hand side of that, there's a poll which is right now closed. You see it has choices. Every time I show you a question on the screen, this is where you mark the answers. No answers should come in the chat box, which is below the poll. Chat is for us to talk. You know, when I ask you a question, why did you mark this, or what did you think of this? All those places where you talk to me, that's where we'll come in the chat box, but all the polling will happen in the poll, okay? Now, below the presentation screen is the Q&A pod, question and answers. So, for example, I just explained a question and you still have some doubts about it, you have some questions. Now, I might not be able to go back and answer, but our co-host will help you here. You can just type in your questions here and he will take them on. Again, this is not for the chat pod. Chat is where we're talking. I will not be able to go in the live session to a question that has already gone or something something that has already passed, okay? So I hope everybody's clear about what all you see on screen. I'll explain the agenda to you first. You should be very clear what you're taking, what are we going to do, and how we're going to do this. First, we'll measure your current ability. So I'll show you 4 questions, 700 plus level. Okay, hard questions are where we're going to start. This is where we'll understand, okay, what is your current ability to do these questions. You will get feedback on these once we discuss the solutions. They will tell you, okay, this is where I am right now. I have some conceptual gaps, or I am super good with this. You'll get that kind of feedback. Then we will work on your process skills. Process skills are the bridge between concepts and application. So I know my concepts, I know A, B, C, D, but application is writing down bat, cat, mat. I have to know how to write that. I have to know how to spell. So that gap is filled by process. Sorry, that was the coughing spree again. Once we improve your process skills, I'll show you how expert AI can improve your ability, and then we will continue improving your process skills until you get ready for GMAT questions. Now, here's time for your first question. Before I show you the question, I'm opening the poll. Just mark still solving. Okay, so still solving is to tell me who all are ready to do this, who all are active participants in the session. So right now I have enough people responding to this. It's time for me to show you the first question. Good luck. My network is excellent, Himanshu. So everybody who faces my voice cracking or something, some internet issue, then please try rejoining, and also rejoin from the app, not the website. And in case I suddenly go quiet, as I said, that's because I have this crazy cough today. Guys, nothing is audible because nobody is talking yet. A poll is on, and based on how many people have responded to the poll, I'm waiting. When I have 80% of the still solving people mark their answers, only then will I know it's time to discuss. Okay? I have to wait for the majority to be done. 80% of you. So that's why people who mark still solving, they decide the pace of the session. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. Please mark your answers before then. Make it a habit to always mark answers. The GMAC will penalize you more heavily if you miss marking. Alright, the poll is closed. This is how all of you voted. I am not going to discuss the solutions yet. This is for you to get a flavor of what you're getting ready for. We will contrast the difference in accuracy right now and when we do these same questions again at the end. So right now, the majority went with C, and we have votes for A, B, D, E also. So really, all five choices have gotten votes, and this shows that you people are confused with what is happening, and that's natural because you still have gaps. That is what is clear. Now I'm going to bring in the next poll, which is for the next question. You know the drill. You just have to mark still solving first. Okay. That'll again tell me how many people really are actively participating in the session. Okay. So here is your poll. I'll clear all the previous answers. Poll is open. Please mark still solving. This time, making it very clear, you people, everybody in still solving will decide the pace. The moment 80% of still solving people are done, that's my cue to start discussing. Start with the next question, okay? Here's question 1A. Go for this. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. Please mark your answers before then. Okay, the poll is closed, and this is the result. We see that the majority again went with choice C, 36%, but we have 29% with A as well, 30% now. So it's almost a tie between A and C, and we do have votes for B, D, E. So that again shows confusion. We don't have a very sure vote. Let's hope to have this confusion cleared out through the session, during the session, so that when you come to the same question again, you feel better. You're now going to see the next poll. Let me open that next question. Here again, you know the drill. Mark still solving first of all. Perfect. This is question number 2. We had question 1, then question 1A, which was a slight variation. Now question 2, which is technically your third one. Good luck. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. All right, here are the results. Majority went with B, 49% of you marked B. C and D also got votes. D was the next highest with 22%, C with 13. A and E had negligible votes, but again, all five choices got votes. All right, time for the final question that you're going to do right now, like this. All of these, of course, are going to come back when we do the same questions again. Right now, here's the poll for the third question. Just mark still solving. Okay, this is the final one. Question number 3. Good luck. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, check this out now. This time, A, B, C, D, all four options have almost the same number of votes. The majority is D, but just see how small the majority is, 26%. Then there's 23%, 22% with B and C. A also has 16, so it's only E that really has 8%. But yet again, every choice has votes. Well, after you all have seen these four questions, come in the chat box. Tell me, how do you feel about these? How much did you know? Where did you struggle? What do you think? You came to the session with a certain mindset, I'm sure. Did you know you lagged at a certain place, or were you confident, or what exactly is it? Sarthi Vora says the last one seemed challenging. Garvit started these type of questions after a very long time. You must be feeling rusted, Garvit. Himanshu was lagging in approach. Yeah. Quadrilateral was a concept issue. Nice. You've already identified that, Minas. Vanshika is taking time. Anjesh found the last one tricky. Valmik says we'll know after the answer key. Yes, you'll know whether you were right or wrong, but you already know you were confident or not. Oh, Jan says easy peasy. Just look at the variety. I like dealing with questions with percentage difference. So, Lion, you already have a place where you need to work, right? It's good that you've identified it. Shafi is not able to get through concepts. Okay, you're all reading each other's responses. You see how the majority is not very comfortable. You lack with in at one or the other things in the process and the application, in DS questions specifically, or quadrilaterals, whatever. Somebody took more time. My network shows, okay, the network should be better soon. Okay, Chan says her voice is clear for me. That's what I thought. My network says excellent here. Everybody who's struggling, maybe retry. Try joining again, as I said, towards the beginning of the session. Okay, with this, then, all of you have already gotten a flavor of your destination for today. This is what we want to get you till. This is where you have to reach. Most of you are not there already, right? Some of you are there, some of you are not there. So the journey begins here at concept related questions. We're going to start at the very base. This is again, as I said, learning the ABCs. When you're going to learn ABC, you start with obviously the alphabet and then you start to string all of that into words. So this is where we're starting. GMAT student says, I've solved these questions before, but I still panicked when it is time. That's a very, very, very common thing. You have to learn how to handle pressure because if you feel panic here, you're definitely going to feel that in the exam, right? So I'm going to show you a conceptual question now. So it'll be a different kind of question, a different flavor this time. Here you go.
Okay, guys. So in this question, what we would be doing is, you mark all the statements that you feel are true. You can mark more than one statement, so that's completely all right. But yes, please mark all the statements that you feel are true from 1 to 8. Let's take 10 more seconds and mark all these statements. And let's have no answers in the chat pod, please. This is a request from my end. I don't want any answers in the chat pod. That completely, decimates the entire intention of this question and of the poll, right? So please maintain that. It's a request from our end to you, please. Okay, last 5 seconds to mark the answers for this question. Okay, I am going to end the poll. Thank you for all of your answers. And please, just one more point over here. I'd also want all of you to make sure you note down what are the sentences or what are the statements or which are the statements that you have marked for the first question, and I'll be giving you another one. So for that as well, another few minutes. Okay, a few seconds. So I'll give you 10 more seconds. Let's take 10 to 15 more seconds and then mark the answer, please. 10 to 15. I've reopened the poll. Not more than that, please. Right. I hope this is fair, and you people now have marked the answers. So with that, I'll hide out this poll. I'll give you another poll because we have another 8 statements, and I want you to perform the same activity that you have done over here. So question number 2, again, mark all the statements that are true. The poll that you're seeing on your screen is multi-select, so you can select more than one answer as well. All right, the last 10 seconds. Please mark the statements that you feel are correct. 3, 2, 1, and 0. So I am going to end the poll. And again, just as the last question, we'll do the same activity here as well. What we are going to do is, I want all of you to mark how many of these 8 statements have you marked in the poll, and note that down in your notebooks. Because I have a very interesting, feedback, that's coming up. Okay, in your notebooks, that's completely fine, Eddie. We can do that in our own notebooks. That is completely okay. All right, so let's now look at the answers. So the first question that we had, for the first question, none of the 7 statements, were true, right? None of the 7 statements were true, and you should not have marked any of the 7 statements, but all of you should have marked statement number 8. That's for question number 1. For question number 2, all the 7 statements that you saw on the screen were true, right? And that's the reason I actually got a lot of votes in statements 3, 4, 5, but not a lot in statements number 1, 2, 6, or 7. But at the end of the day, all these 7 statements are true, and I hope all of you, most of you, have marked at least 5 to 6 out of the 7 statements that you can see on the screen. So with that, let me now, give you the feedback. So just allow me one moment, and let me, help you out with which group do you belong to, and depending upon that, what would be your course of action, right? So I want all of you to mark analyzing in the poll that I have given on the screen. Please mark analyzing in the poll that you can see on the screen. Perfect. That is very good. So basically, I now want you to understand what are the statements that you have marked, and then choose the group that you belong to, right? So if you are someone who had not marked any of the 7 statements for question number 1 and had marked all the 7 statements for question number 2, please select group A. Anyone who had not marked any in the first question, all in the second question, please mark group A. Okay. For any student who had marked 0, 1, or 2 statements in the first question and either 3 or greater than 3 in the second question, please mark group B. Let's get the votes for group B, please. Okay, perfect. And anything else apart from groups A and B? You belong to group C, so kindly very quickly mark group C. Perfect. So now you know which groups do you belong to, right? So essentially, this is a 2-hour session itself, and that's the reason we'll not be able to give you a lot of content, but a lot of content would be covered in your actual course material. Now, let's talk about Group A, people who did not mark anything in the first question, marked all in the second. For you, you have very good conceptual understanding. That's a very good trait that you're having. Geometries, concepts are at place. I would rather say, concepts around quadrilaterals are at place. You can directly move to the process skill block to enhance your ability to apply these, skills, and to make sure that you understand questions in a much better context, right? For people who belong to Group B, they have slightly some gaps in your conceptual understanding, and for that reason, I would want all of you who belong to Group B to make sure that you go back into the course and revise the concept files that's there in the chapter in the module of quadrilaterals. And finally, for Group C, there there's a very big need for all of you to learn concepts better, because if you don't, then the problem would arise around solving questions. And that is the reason I'd recommend you going through the diagnostic files and then going through the concept files and learning all the files, all the concepts that's there in those files. Right now, I can see a few people asking for question 1 or question 2. Please understand, I cannot go back in the slide, because otherwise, because otherwise there might be confusion, and will not be able to handle that. So I'd recommend all of you to please take a screenshot at any point in time you need one. Right, so that's very important, and I'll be also sharing the PDF in case you need it. Just wait till the end of the session, please. I will share the PDF for all of you. Right, okay, so with that, let's move ahead. And very honestly, as I told you, essentially it's not very easy for all of us to get you everything in a 2-hour session. However, I would want all of you to go into the Quant 2.0 course, and in that course you'd get a detailed feedback and learn a lot of things, because the course covers everything in detail, every concept, every question in detail, and that is how you would be able to take care of all the problems that might be there in geometry. Right, so with that, we'll now move ahead, and a very quick introduction of how do you go through the course. You just need to go through the diagnostic quizzes. The diagnostic quizzes give you a very clear understanding of what are your weaker areas. Once you take care of your weaker areas, I'm very sure you would do well on your actual test. Right, okay, so with that, let's move ahead. The next part where we would want to gain we would want all of you to gain some more knowledge is the concepts area. Right, and let's talk about the concepts a very bit quickly. And before that, let me take my pen. Just allow me one moment. Yeah, so over here, let me also hide out the pointer. Okay, so let's talk about the sites. Let's talk about the 5 most common quadrilaterals that's tested on your actual GMAT. They are the most basic ones are obviously rectangles and squares, and then you have rhombus, parallelogram, and trapezium. Now, in this session, I'm going to give you a very brief idea about a few concepts around these 5 quadrilaterals. The first one is obviously sides. In trapezium, we know that one pair of opposite sides is parallel to each other. In parallelogram, both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel. In rhombus, again, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. In rectangle and squares, both the opposite sides are parallel as well. Also, in rectangle and square, and in parallelogram and rhombus, the opposite sides are equal in length, right? So that is that is also a very important concept in case we deep dive into these kind of quadrilaterals in the later on stage of our session. Right, okay, so let's now talk about the angles. In trapezium, there's no such concept related to angles. It completely depends upon what trapezium am I dealing up with. So that's one very important point. In parallelograms, the opposite angles are equal to each other. So by that I mean the value of angle A would be equal to the value of angle C, and very similarly, the value of angle D would be equal to the value of angle B. Right? Okay. Then we have rhombus. In rhombus, again, the opposite sides are equal. So by that I mean angle A is equal to angle C, angle D is equal to angle B. Then we have rectangles and squares, where you know that each of these angles are equal to 90 degrees. Okay, suppose that, let's move to diagonals. In parallelograms, the diagonals are not equal. However, they bisect each other. Same for rhombus, they're not equal in length. They bisect each other and they're perpendicular to each other. So the angle that one diagonal makes with the other, it's equal to 90 degrees. Right? For rectangles, both the diagonals are equal and they bisect each other. It's very similar to squares as well. In square, it's very similar to what we had learned in rhombus. They create an angle of 90 degree to each other. So they cut each other perpendicularly. Also, The lengths of the diagonals for a rectangle can be found out through the Pythagoras theorem, where L is the length, B is the breadth of that rectangle, and we use the Pythagoras theorem to calculate the length of any diagonal. The same also works for a square, but since in a square the length and the breadth is equal, the length of the diagonal is given as s times root 2, right? So after sides, angles, and diagonals are done, let's talk about areas and perimeters for these five quadrilaterals. The first quadrilateral, that's trapezium, the area is half of the sum of the parallel sides times the height, that is the distance between the two parallel sides. That's the area of a trapezium. For a parallelogram, it's equal to the base times the height of the parallelogram. For a rhombus, it's equal to half the product of two diagonals. For a rectangle, it's very simple. It's the product of length and the breadth. And for a square, again, it's the whole square of the length, or let's say, since the length and breadth are equal, you just multiply that, and then that gives you s square, where s is the side length of the square. Perimeter, very easy to understand. It's just the sum of all sides of any geometrical shape. So for a trapezium, since we don't have a lot of idea about angles, diagonal sides, it's just the sum of all sides depending upon what are the sides in that perimeter. For a parallelogram, it's equal to twice of the sum of opposite sides. Very, very similar to rectangle. For rhombuses and squares, the perimeter is given by the formula 4 times the side length, because the side length is equal for all the four sides. Right, so this gives you a very fair idea, I hope, in terms of the sides, the angles, the diagonals, area, and perimeters for the five very frequent quadrilaterals that's tested in the GMAT. Right, so with that, let's now move ahead to the next set of steps. The next steps is to make sure that you learn how to use all these concepts and the process skills that's there to solve questions effectively. And only post we complete all these steps, we'll be solving the questions that we had initially solved, the DS questions that we initially solved. We will solve the same set of questions again over here, right? But with some more learning. So let me first give you the poll for the first process skill question. Here is the poll. I would reopen it. I would want all of you to please mark a still solving. Let's very, very quickly mark a still solving, please. And Garvit, I'm very sorry, will not be sharing any discount coupon for the paid program in this session. Difference between a rhombus and square. As I told you, the diagonals have a difference, right? They're not equal for a rhombus. They are equal for a square, Garvit. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so I have my still solvings. This is the first question. All the best for this one. All right. The last 20 seconds to mark the answer for this question. Please do so once you are done. Okay, now let's solve this question. I see all of you have almost answered this question, so I'm going to end the poll and I will broadcast the results. 48% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice B. Okay, that's perfect. So let's get into the question and solve it out. Now, what is the question asking me over here? The area of ABCD is equal to the area of rectangle PQRS. So there are two figures, ABCD and PQRS. One's a square, one's a rectangle, and the area of both these figures are equal. And it's given that if the length of the rectangle, that's PQRS, is 21% more than its breadth, then what is the ratio of perimeter of ABCD to PQRS? Okay, so I have a relationship between the lengths of a relationship between the lengths of the rectangle and a square. You people tell me, what would that be if the length of the perimeter, if the length of the rectangle is A, breadth is B? According to the information in this question, which of these four options, which of these five options is the true one? Perfect. It's given. Since it's given that the length is 21% more than the breadth, so A would be equal to B plus 21% of B. That's equal to 1.21 B. So option 4 is absolutely the correct one. So I now know the length and breadth, or the length and width of the rectangle and the square. For the square, it's equal to S and S, because understand the length and the width of a square is equal. And for the rectangle, the breadth is equal to B, the length would be equal to 1.21 B. Now, what are the areas for these two figures? For the square, it's equal to S square. For the rectangle, it's equal to 1.21 B square. According to this question, these are equal. So S square is equal to 1.21 square. So if you take the square root of both these sides, what you have is the value of S is equal to 1.1b. Now minus 1.1b is not possible, understand, because S, which is the length of a side, cannot be negative in nature, right? So that's the reason I have the value of S, which is equal to 1.1 times B. Now, what do I need to calculate? I need to calculate the ratio of perimeter of ABCD to perimeter of PQRS. So for ABCD, the perimeter is equal to 4S. For PQRS, it's twice of A plus B. You simply use this information. You use the value of S, which is equal to 1.1B, and then you have the values of the length and breadth of the rectangle. So that's equal to 4 times 1.1B divided by 2 times 1.21b plus b, that's 2.21b. You cancel it out, and finally you get the answer as 220 by 221, for which choice B is absolutely the clear answer choice, right? So not a that difficult question, but there are a few things that you need to keep in mind to make sure that you don't make any errors in these kind of questions. Now, what are they? Essentially, what you need to keep in your head is, first of all, you need to comprehend each piece of information separately, so that you don't mix up all the information that's given in the question, and process this question step by step, right? If you do that, hardly any problem would arise in that process, right? So with that, let's move ahead to the next question. That is question number 2. And this question essentially is the same question that you had initially solved, the first DS question, right? So let me get you the poll for that. Just allow me one moment. All right, so I've given you the poll. Kindly mark a still solving and let me get you the question right away. So we'll be solving the first DS question, the 700 plus level question. And keep in mind that this is a DS question. So before I move into that, I just want all of you to run through the DS process very quickly once. So always make sure that you do a thorough question statement analysis. You have to understand what the question statement is telling you. Draw every piece of information that you can get from that statement. Then go to statement one. See if that gives you the answer. If yes, then you can eliminate choices B, C, or E. If no, you can eliminate choices A and D. Then it's time to completely forget about statement one, process statement two in the same perspective. And even if statements one or two don't get you the answer, that's the time when you combine the information from both the statements for your final analysis. Right. So with that, let me move ahead to question number one. All the best for this one. All right, the last 15 seconds to mark the answer for this question. Okay, perfect. So let's get started with the solution for this question. Now, first of all of you, please tell me, uh, Is the comprehension around this question this time around much more easier now that you've gotten through all those concepts, now that you've gotten through the first process skill question? Is this question seeming a little bit easier than the first attempt you had already made? I want your answers in the chat pod. That should be good. Okay, that is very nice. So that's how you essentially prepare yourself to solve these kind of questions. You don't start off with solving difficult level questions. You build to that level. That's what we try in all our sessions as well, right? So let's get started with this one. What do I need to find out? What is the cost to fence a rectangular plot at the rate of $20 per meter? So I need to find out the cost to fence. So what do I essentially require? Do I require area, perimeter, or I don't know? What do I require? I require the perimeter, right? Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So essentially, I need the value of twice of a plus b. This is something that I essentially need for this, to solve this question. So I either need the individual values of a and b, or I just need the sum of a and b without knowing the values of a and b, and then that would help me get to the answer. So both are completely all right, completely okay, right? So let's now move ahead to the first statement's analysis. The first statement tells me that the length of the plot is increased by 10 meters. If that happens, the area increases by 100 square meters. This is the information that's given to me. Now, looking at this statement, which of these 5 statements do you think is true? Perfect. I would get the value of the width, that is b, right? So let's check if I do get that value or not. So the length of the plot, if that's increased by 10 meters, the area increases by 100 square meters. So let's assume that the length is equal to a, the width is equal to b, which tells me that the area would be equal to a times b. Now, if the new length, which is increased by 10 meters, then would become how much? It would become a plus 10, and the width remains same, so that would be equal to b. In that case, what would be the area? It would be equal to a plus b, a plus 10 times b. Now, since the length has been increased, the area increases by 100 square meters. So if I find out the new area, it's equal to the original area plus 100 square meters, right? So the new area is equal to the original area plus 100. That's the equation that we would be able to form. If we use these values that we have, the new area, that's a plus 10 times b, the old area, that's a times b, and substitute them, I can easily cancel off a and b and then get the value of 10b, which is equal to 100. And from that, the value of b becomes equal to 10. So I do get the value of b, but I do not have the value of a. Now, since I do not have the value of a, I cannot get either this or this. So I had to get either of these two to get to the final answer. But since from statement 1, I cannot reach to that position, the first statement is an insufficient statement to answer this question. Please tell me if the analysis till this point is clear to all of you or not. Very, very quickly in the chat pod, please. Okay, that is perfect. So now, since the first if you cannot hear me well, Akash, I would recommend you logging in again, because the audio is perfectly clear at my end. Should not be a problem, right? Okay, so let's move ahead to the second statement's analysis. Now, what does the second statement tell me? It tells me that if the length of the plot is decreased by 10%, the width of the plot is increased by 10, the entire perimeter decreases by 5%. Okay, so if the length of the plot is decreased by 10% and the width is increased by 10%, which of the 4 options do you think is true? What would be the value of the new width? Absolutely correct. It's equal to B plus 10% of B, which is 1.1B. Okay, so I essentially now have the new length and width. Since the original length was A and B, the length decreased by 10%, so it became 0.9A. The width increased by 10%, so it became 1.1B. I can get to the perimeters as well, right? So the initial perimeter would be twice of A plus B. The final perimeter would be twice of the new length plus the new breadth. According to this question, the perimeter decreases by 5%. Now, that essentially means that my new perimeter would be equal to the original perimeter minus a 5% of that original perimeter, right? A 5% decrement, right? So that essentially is equal to how much? 95% or 95 by 100 of the original perimeter. So I'll just put in these values in new and original to get the relationship between A and B. If I put these values, I get a relationship between A and B, which tells me that A is equal to 3B. But do I have the values for A and B, or the total sum of A and B? Do I get that from the statements analysis? Yes or no? Do I get to the individual values or the total sum? I do not, right? And since I do not, even with statement 2, I'll not be able to answer this question. So the second statement alone is not a sufficient statement to answer this question. But I knew that I have the value of A, I have the value of B from statement 1. So I'll combine both these statements, and since I had the value of B from statement 1 and a relationship of between A and B from the second statement, after combining both these information, I can get to the value of A as well, through which I'll be able to get the sum of A and B. So only after combining the information from both these two statements, I'll be able to reach the answer, for which choice C is the correct answer choice for this question. Please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you or not. Perfect. That's very good. And we'll be, reiterating the same model for the next set of questions as well. If you remember, we had given you two questions, right? Question number 1 and then question number 1A. So now let's discuss question number 1A as well. Now in question number 1A, the second statement was same. The first statement had a change in it. What was that? It was given if the length of the plot is increased by 10 meters, the perimeter increases by 50%. So let's say the initial lengths and widths are A and B. The perimeter would be equal to twice of A plus B. And since the length is increased by 10 meters, then now the new length becomes A plus 10. The width remains the same. The perimeter would be twice of A plus 10 plus B. According to this question, I have an increment of 50%, right? If I have an increment of 50%, the original perimeter, the new perimeter, sorry, would be 1.5 times. 50% means 0.5 times, right? So a 50% increment would mean a 1.5 times of the entire value. So that would be my original perimeter times 1.5. If you solve it out, you get to the unique value of A and B. And hence we can say that for the second question, that's question number 1A, the correct answer choice for that one would be choice A, right? Please tell me if the solution for this question is clear to all of you or not, please. Please tell me if the solution for this one is clear. Okay, now I had a very interesting question. How much time should you take to solve this question? In my opinion, you should not be taking more than 2 minutes to solve this question. Even if it's a 700 level question, it's not that difficult, right? It's very simple calculations over area and perimeter. And that's the reason I'll recommend you nothing above 2 minutes should be taken to solve this question. Right? Okay, perfect. So now let's move ahead to the second question, and let me get you the poll for the second question. Just allow me one moment. All right, so I have the poll for all of you. Let me reopen it and clear all the answers. Perfect. So I have the poll for all of you. Kindly mark as still solving. I will give you the second process skill question. Let's get the still solvings very, very quickly. All right, question number 2 on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, the last 10 seconds to mark the answer for this question. Three, two, one, and yes, very, very quickly, please mark the answers. 0. I am going to end the poll and broadcast the results. 62% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice C, and there's a fair split of 11% between choices A and B. So let's look at the question and understand how do you solve this one. Now in this question it's given that the length of the rectangle is 9 centimeter more than its width and the area of the rectangle is 90 centimeters square. I need to find out what is the distance between the center and its vertex, the rectangle's center and its vertex. So please tell me, upon seeing these four options, which one do you think is the one that you need to find out? Absolutely correct. You are looking to find out the value, uh, or essentially the figure that's shown in choice C, right? Half of the diagonal. Absolutely, that's perfect, Avinav and Lucas. Okay, so let's get into the question and solve it out. So the distance that I need to calculate is essentially half of the diagonal, and for that I need to calculate the diagonal of this rectangle, right? What information do I have for the diagonal of this rectangle? I know that they bisect each other and I also know that they're equal in length. I also know how to calculate the values, right? Through Pythagoras theorem. So the first thing is that I need to find the length of O, and the length of O is half of AC. Now I need to get to the values of P and Q to get the value of AC, and in turn get the value of AO, right? Or OA, whatever you call it. So I need to find out the values of P and Q, which are the lengths and which are the length and the width of this rectangle. Now, in this question, it's given the length of the rectangle is 9 centimeter more than its width. So that tells me that P would be equal to Q plus 9. It also tells me that the area of the rectangle is 90 centimeters. So that would be PQ, the product of length and width, and that's equal to 90. Now, if I combine both this information, I'll just replace Q. Sorry, I'll replace P with the value of 9 plus Q, which is essentially the value of P. So 9 plus Q times Q would be equal to 90. I get a quadratic equation, I solve it out, and I get two values of Q, plus 6 and minus 15. The point over here is the value of Q cannot be minus 15. It cannot be a negative number, since it's the side of a rectangle, right? And side cannot be a negative number. So the value of Q comes out to be 6. And if the value of Q is equal to 6, I know that the value of P would be 9 plus Q. So the value of P comes out to be 15. I now have the values of P and Q. I would now find out the value of AC square. So P square plus Q square would be equal to 15 whole square plus 6 whole square. That's equal to 225 plus 36, which gives me a value of 261. So the value of AC whole square is equal to 261, or the value of AC is equal to root under of 261. Now that I get the value of AC, I need to calculate the value of OA. That's half of AC, or half of root 261. But the challenge over here is, how do I simplify this number 261? It's not a that good looking number to me, right? What I do is I take the help from the answer choices. In the answer choices, I have 13 and 29. I'll try to write 261 in terms of 13 or 29. Now 13 times 20 is equal to 260. So definitely 261 is not a multiple of 13. So that essentially tells me that 29 has to be a multiple of 261 has to be a multiple of 29. So that if I calculate that out, I get the value of 261 to be equal to 9 times 29. 9, right? So 261 is 9 times 29. You take out a 9 outside the square root, you get a 3. So the value of AC would be 3 times root 29, or half of that would be half of 3 times root 29, and that is the answer for your question. Now, people who had marked choices A and B, I want you people to tell me, where did you go wrong? This is not that difficult a question, right? But where did you go wrong? What essentially happened in this question? Guessing, that's something that you don't want to do, Alexis, right? Because the accuracy would drop in if you guess. What about others? I see 14 people marking choices A or B. What about others? Where did you go wrong? Please tell me in the chat pod. And understand, you would only understand, to improve on areas to improve when you find out your problems, right? So that's very, very important for you, that you know where you are doing mistakes, you're making mistakes, and you cover those up. It reached till 261, and that became a problem again. That's the reason we would tell you uh, that you need to take help from the answer choices that you have. At the first, I did not know what does the vertex mean. Okay, I hope that is now clear to you, Werner. How did you get 3 root 29? Isaac, root 261 is equal to 29 times 9, right? So you take this 9 out. Since it's a whole square, you can take it out. You can take that out of the whole square, of the square root, I'm sorry. And if you take a 9 out of a square root, you get a 3, right? And that's the reason I got a 3 root 29. I hope that answers your question. You took the length and breadth as 9 and 6. But if you take the length and breadth as 9 and 6, Shantan, would you get the area of the rectangle to be equal to 90? You won't, right? So that is a problem, right? So that's also another area where you can improve. Okay, why couldn't we use the formula to calculate the length of diagonal when we already knew the length and breadth? Uh, we use the same formula, correct, Abhishek? I'm not very sure if we use something else. We use the formula over here to calculate the diagonal's length. We use the Pythagoras formula. I'm not very sure if there's another formula to solve, to calculate the diagonal of this figure. And can you just help me out with the formula, Abhishek, please? Which formula are you talking about? Can you please help me out with that? I'm not very sure because I don't know of any. So I'm not very sure uh, if there's anything else, because I don't know any other formula to calculate the diagonal's length. I am very sorry. Right? Okay, so now let's move ahead to the second question. That is that's the 700 level question we initially solved out, right? So let me get you the poll for that very, very quickly. Yes, so I've given you the poll. Kindly mark as still solving. Let's get to at least 40 still solvings. I only have 20 right now. Let's get another 20 people mark as still solving, and then let me give you the question. Let's do this very, very quickly, guys. Okay, perfect. So question number 2 on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, the last 10 seconds to mark the answer for this question. Okay, I am going to end the poll and broadcast the results. 54% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice B. 20% of you tell me it's choice D. So let's understand what's the solution for this question is. Now, in this question, it's given that in the quadrilateral ABCD, AB is equal to 7.25 centimeter. Point E is the intersection point of diagonals AC and BD, and I'm asked whether AB is greater than BC or not. So let's delve into it. Uh, now, since I'm talking about a quadrilateral, and I am to find out the relationship between AB and BC, uh, which of these five options do you think is the correct statement? Wow, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Perfect. So, let me tell you that people who are marking A, B, or C or D, all of you are incorrect, right? Since I don't know what kind of a quadrilateral is this, I cannot say whether the diagonals are equal in length or not. That's number one. Since I do not know what kind of a quadrilateral is this, I cannot for sure say that the opposite sides are equal or not, right? So essentially the answer for this question is choice E. Is that clear to all of you? Is that clear to all of you? That's very, very important. The lesson that you learned over here is do not assume anything. Okay, Alexis, please go ahead. Why is it not clear? Lucas, please go ahead. Why is it not clear? I would, I'd like to, intercept you and let's understand why. Because we are seeing a rectangle. And Sheila, do you essentially know that what we see over here, the lengths are completely, same? Is that the case, what you're trying to, point out? Okay. The image shows a figure that looks like a rectangle. Can you differentiate between the lengths if, let's say, the length of AB is 7.1 centimeter and CD is equal to 7 centimeter? Do you think that would be differentiable? It would still look like it would still look like a rectangle, correct? But it is essentially not a rectangle at all, right? So that's very, very important for all of you to understand. GMAT would trick you in these things. They are masters of trickery, and they will trick you in these kind of things because they know that students tend to make these mistakes. They think that what they see on the screen is essentially a rectangle, whereas it is not. Right? So with this information, let's move ahead. So the learning that we got over here is do not assume something till that point is not explicit in the question, right? Yes, absolutely, absolutely, Lucas, absolutely. Same for you, Alexis. We cannot rely on the image 100%. Right. Okay, so let's go ahead. It's given that the quadrilateral ABCD has the length of AB, which is equal to 7.24 centimeter, I know that point E is an intersection of the diagonals, and then I need to find out whether AB is greater than BC or not. But since we do not have any special, you know, linkage between the diagonals, any concept or anything that talks to me about the diagonals, I cannot say right now. I need more information, right? Okay, so let's move ahead. uh, I know that there are a few properties of diagonals, right? But since I do not know what kind of quadrilateral am I dealing with, I'm not very sure which one to apply, right? So let's go to the first statement, because I do not have a lot of I do not have a lot of help from the question statement. So statement 1 tells me that the length of EC is equal to 5 centimeter. Now, if the length of EC is equal to 5 centimeter, which of these four options, which of these ones are, which one of these four is true? Please tell me in the chat pod which of A or B or C or D is true. Ah, very interesting. Okay. Now, for people who are telling me that AC is equal to 10, you are assuming that these two parts are bisected, the diagonals are bisected, right? Which is not true. It's not given in the question that it's a rectangle or it's a square or it's a rhombus. Since I don't know the actual property of the quadrilateral, will not be able to say whether the length of AC is actually 10 centimeter or not. So choice C is definitely not correct, right? So this is incorrect. Um, AE plus EC is equal to AC. Yes, this is the correct one, right? This is the correct statement that I have out of these four statements. Obviously, I cannot choose choice 4 because I already have a correct statement with me. If any of 1 or 2 or 3 is incorrect, then only it's time for me to choose choice 4, right? Which in this question is not going to be chosen, right? Are we all clear till this point, guys? Are we all clear till this point? Okay, perfect. Again, the learning over here is not to assume anything unless that's explicitly mentioned in the question. So what's given over here? I have the length of EC, but I have no idea of the type of quadrilateral I'm dealing with. And that is the reason I cannot say whether AB or BC is, what's the relationship between AB or BC. So the first statement is not a sufficient statement to answer this question. Let's move ahead to the second statement. The second statement tells me that the perimeter of AEB is greater than the perimeter of BEC, and all interior angles of ABCD are right angles. So what can you infer from the statement? Out of these three options that you can see on screen, what can you infer? Absolutely. We can infer that the opposite sides are equal to each other, right? I cannot for sure say that all the side lengths are equal. That is something that I cannot say for sure, but I can definitely say that since I have right angles, it's definitely a rectangle, right? It's definitely a rectangle, right? Again, understand all rectangles are squares. So but all squares are not rectangles, right? So it's definitely a rectangle over here, right? Okay, if this is a rectangle, then the question now becomes very easy for me, right? I'm sorry, Anisha. Yes, I essentially meant the other way around. Thank you for pointing out that to me. Okay, so I now have a rectangle in front of me. I have a side length as well. I now need to find out whether one side is greater than or lesser than the other side or not, right? So what do I have? I know that ABCD is a rectangle, and I also know the perimeter of AEB is greater than the perimeter of BEC. Now, if perimeter of AEB is greater than the perimeter of BEC, and I know the perimeter of any triangle is just the sum of the three side lengths of that triangle. Before moving into that, I also know that since it's a rectangle, the diagonals bisect each other and they are also equal in length. So all these four parts should be equal in length. Now, the perimeter of AEB is equal to AE plus EB plus AB. The perimeter of BEC is BE plus EC plus BC. According to the question, the perimeter of AEB is greater than the perimeter of BEC. And I also know that all these four side lengths are equal. So from these 6 entities, I can eliminate 4 of these entities, giving me that AB is greater than BC. So the second statement helps us reach the answer for this question, and you people have only 54% of you have marked the answer for this one correctly, right? So please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you, or if you have any questions, any doubts. I'll be very happy to take it up. Okay, that is very good. So we'll now move ahead to the next set of questions. But it's so very important for all of you to make sure that you have 100% conceptual clarity, and you don't make any assumption until and unless it's stated explicitly in the question, which initially a lot of you encountered and made mistakes on, right? So please make sure you do not make that same kind of a mistake, right? So with that, let's move ahead. And then before I move ahead, before I move ahead to the next question, I'll just take 3 more minutes to essentially help you understand what does it take to score a Q50 or higher, right? So essentially, there are 3 things that you need to make sure that it's completely at place for you. A, they are the concepts. B, they are the process skills. And C, they are the GMAT skills. Now, in your course, in your Quant 2.0 course, we have separate files for all these 3 activities. Your files for concepts, your files for process skill learning, and then your files for GMAT skills, which is solving difficult kind of questions as far as the GMAT is considered. So the first takeaway is to make sure that you need to learn progressively. You cannot start off directly with difficult questions. You need to make sure that you start off with level 1, then move to level 2, then move to level 3, and so on. And that's what Quant 2.0 does to And then since it's such an effective product, we have delivered the most number of successes and the most number of success stories than any other competitor in this domain, right? So we have delivered so much success only because we have understood that each of you require each of you require a unique solution. So for example, to take an example of what do I essentially mean over here is, let's take the example of geometry, right? There are 76 learning activities, 40 hours of content, and for example, if you're a student in that range of Q30, you need to go through all those 76 activities because it is very, very important for you to learn all of it, right? If you're a Q45 student, only 30 activities should do it for you. And which 30 activities? The course will tell you that, right? You don't have to, guess which are the activities that you need to go through, right? The course will tell you where are you strong, where are you weak at, and those are the activities that you need to go through. If you're a Q49 student, you just need a final polishing, right? And that's how you only do 12 activities and make sure that you are good to go with respect to whatever you need to do. And again, over here as well, the course will tell you which are the files that you need to go through. So different needs cater to different activities, and different activities cater to different courses. That's what Quant 2.0 along with PACE delivers to you. It delivers you a course, a personalized course depending upon your starting ability, right? You need to take the diagnostic quizzes, and the moment you take the diagnostic quizzes, it will tell you which of the remaining files do you need to go through and which ones can you skip. And essentially there are 4 modules in the geometry course. Each module has 5 learning paths, so there are a total of 625 courses that can be generated from this one single geometry course, right? And let's say if you are at a Q45 at Gitesh, as Gitesh pointed out, you just need to take the diagnostics. The diagnostics will help you understand which files do you need to go through, right? So that's how you do it. And how do you know that you've excelled? At each and every point we have a feedback and evaluation system in place to make sure that you are told whether you are doing it correctly, or do you need any help or any reiterations on that process, right? So the third takeaway is to make sure that every learning activity that you do on the platform gives you a personalized feedback depending upon your strengths and weaknesses. And the expert architecture does all of this for you, right? It tells you whether you have learned perfectly, or you need selective revision, or you need to redo the entire part. And then all of this, we have so many testimonials on YouTube, on GMAT Club, on so many other websites which help, which talk about the same thing, right? You can go through these success stories to understand how did these students make sure that they extract the most out of the course. Okay, perfect. So with that, I would I would want you to mark a still solving to the next question. I have the poll for the next question. Let's go to the third process skill question. Right, and just skip over here. Okay, so very quickly, please mark a still solving, and I'll give you the third process skill question. And as Alexis is already using the course, he would be a very good judge to telling you people where how does the course help you, right? And then even you can take a taste of it. Just go to the e-GMAT free trial. We have made sure that few files are there for your perusal, and you can do the files, do the activities, understand how it works out, and that should be a very good, um, you know, um, that should that should give you a very good idea. Perfect. So I have my still solvings. Let's get to the third question rather. All the best for this one. 5 more seconds to mark the answer for this question. If you have not done it, please do so. Okay, so I would end the poll, broadcast the results. 55% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice E. The next best choice is choice D, where 12% of you have chosen that. So let's get to solving this question. Okay, now what do I have in this question? I have a square photograph, right? And around that photograph, I have a border of uniform width. This is so very important for this question, right? So I have a border of uniform width. If the photograph has a side length of n, and the width of the border is equal to P, which of the following represents the area of the border? That's the question that we have at our hand, right? So the width of the border is P, the length of the side of the photograph is equal to N. I need to find out the area of the border. Okay, now, first of all, since it's a square photograph, the side length of this photograph would be equal, right? It would be equal to n as given in the question. And then since it has a width of border p, I'd have to extend this side length with p on all the four sides. Then I need to find out the area of the border. Now, the area of the border can be calculated by subtracting the area of the square photograph from the area of the entire section, right? The area of the entire border plus photograph minus the area of the photograph would give you the area of the border. So that is the intent over here in this question. So please tell me which of these 3 points do you think is correct given the question statement? Absolutely. Point B is correct because since the width of the border is uniform, and I'm extending it at both the side on all four sides, uh, the, the the length of the side that I have for the photo with the border would be equal to the width. So that means it's essentially a square that I have with myself, right? So since I have a square, calculating the area becomes very easy. The length of the square photograph is n, with the photo with the border is n plus 2p. The width would be equal to the length, and that would give me the area for these two, these two entities. Finally, I need to calculate the area of the border, and I can do that by subtracting n square from n plus 2p whole square. Simplifying this out, you get the value as 4p times p plus n, which is choice E, according to 55% of you, right? Now, before I move ahead to the next question, which what was that area for which you did not get this question correct? Why did you not get this one correct? Because this seems a very simple question, right? It's not that difficult. Where did you falter as far as this question is considered? Oh, you did not simplify the square roots, okay? How did we get n plus 2p? We just extended the, the, the square photograph with the border that I have here, right, Bhavika? That's how I got it. Okay, you only added p, but did not do 2p, right? I understand, no problem. So I hope your learnings from this question, you've taken all the learnings from this question and you're ready to apply all of these learnings into the next question. Essentially, it's very simple. You just need to visualize what you're trying to solve over here. Geometry requires a lot of visualization, and that's when you become better in solving questions based out of geometry, right? So with that, I will move ahead to the third question. Let me get you the poll for the third question. Here's the poll. Please mark a still solving. Perfect. This is the third question. All the best for this one. All right, the last 10 seconds to mark the answer for this question. If you have not done it, please do so. Okay, so I am going to end the poll, broadcast the results, and I can see that 25% of you have marked choice A, 39% you have marked choice D as the answer. So let's get started and solve this question. Now, in this question, it's given that a border of uniform width W is placed on a rectangle R to create a bigger rectangle S. And the difference between the perimeters has been given as 16 units. I need to find out what is the perimeter of S, and then the two statements that I have over here, right? So let's get started with this question. Now, first of all, if the length of rectangle R is equal to A units, what will be the length of rectangle S? Please tell me this. What would be the length of rectangle S? Absolutely, it would be equal to A plus 2W, right? It will be equal to A plus 2W. So that's something that I know. So this is rectangle R for you with length B, with length A with B, and that's rectangle S for you, which is created after you've included a border of W units after at the from the circumference or from the edge of the first rectangle. That's rectangle R. Right now, let's write that down to make sure that we do not forget this. The length of rectangle R is equal to A units. The width, let's say, is equal to B units. Since I have an uniform width of W, that's the border, the length of rectangle S would become A plus 2W. The width would become AB plus 2W. I hope this is clear to all of you. Uh, no, you cannot, Lucas, you cannot add border to one side only, right? Uh, that's not how we have it, right? Imagine a border, essentially a picture with or an image with a border looks like this and not half of it. That's the reason you need to make sure that you add the border to both sides of this equation or expression, I should say. There's also another thing that I want to point out, guys. At the chat pod, in the chat pod, I can see a lot of questions which are not relevant to this question. Please make sure that you have that at the end. Otherwise, you'd not understand the solution for this question at the first place. Please don't do that, right? All about tests, classes and all, we can discuss that later, but not when you are solving the question. Essentially, you would not understand the question at the first first go. That's something that I don't want, right? Okay, so let's come back to the solution. Let's understand what's given. I have a small rectangle, that's rectangle R. I've taken the length to be equal to A units, the width to be equal to B units, right? I have a uniform width of W that's placed around the rectangle, and as I know, the width, the border needs to be on all four sides of that, all four sides of the initial rectangle, that's rectangle R. And that is the reason my length and width for rectangle R needs to be increased by W on both sides to get rectangle S, both on the lengths and on the breadth side as well. So now I have the length and width for rectangle R and rectangle S. According to this question, there's a difference of perimeter that's given, which is equal to 16 units. And if I calculate the perimeter for rectangle R, that would be equal to twice of A plus B. For rectangle S, that would be equal to twice of A plus 2W plus B plus 2W. That's the length and width. And the difference between these two is given as 16. So if you calculate this out, you would get the value of 4W to be equal to 8, or the value of W, that's the width of the border, to be equal to 2 units. So essentially, the width of the border that I have for this question is equal to 2 units. That's a very important piece of information. Now, how many of you got this value? How many of you got this value, that the value of W is equal to 2? Absolutely perfect. So you have to, because if you did not, moving ahead would become a very challenging task for you, right? Okay, so uh, essentially now if I visualize my length and width for the second rectangle S becomes a plus 4 and b plus 4, and my perimeter becomes twice of a plus b plus 8. Now I need to find out what? I need to find out the perimeter of S. If I need to find out the perimeter of S, I need to find out the value of a plus b plus 8, or essentially the value of a plus b. That's very, very important. That's very, very important for me, right? So any statement that gives me the value of a plus b, is a sufficient statement for me. Okay, so let's move ahead to the first statement. The first statement tells me that the area of the border is equal to 52 square units. Now I know that the lengths and widths of rectangle R and S are these. Now, what information is needed to find out the area of border? Please tell me. According to these four options, which one do you think is true? Absolutely. We need to find out the product of A and B, but do we need it? Let's check if we need it or not. Right. So over here, I have the value of a plus 4 times b plus 4 minus 52. That's given us minus ab. That's given us 52 units. You simplify this out. How do you simplify it? You get ab plus 4 times of a plus b plus 16 minus ab to be equal to 52. If you cancel off ab, so I essentially don't need the product. I would cancel those terms out. I essentially don't need it at the end of the day. I would now have what? I'll have 4 times of a plus b plus 16, which is equal to 52, and that will give me a value of a plus b. Since I needed to find out the value of a plus b and statement 1 gives that to me, the analysis is the first statement is completely sufficient for us to get to the final answer, and that is the reason for eliminating choices B, C, and E. So my answer now is either A or D, right? Let's now move ahead to the second statement, but before that, till this part, is it clear to all of you? The analysis till this part, is that clear to all of you? Okay, that is very good. So let's move ahead to the next part of this question. That's statement 2. Now, the second statement tells me that S can also be obtained if the longer sides are increased by 80%, the shorter sides are increased by 100%. What do you think is the correct option out of these four options around the lengths and widths of rectangle S? Which one do you think is the correct answer choice? Option A is absolutely correct, because when I increase A by 80%, it becomes 1.8A. When I increase B by 100%, it becomes 2B. When I increase B by 100%, I'm sorry, it becomes 2B. Okay, so now what do I have? I have the values of lengths and widths. That's equal to 1.8A and 2B. Okay, is there any other relationship that you can remember uh, from this question, or from the question stem, or anything else that you can remember around the side lengths? Okay, so Abhi tells me it's a plus 2w and b plus 2w. Abhi, did we have a more simplified version of that? Did we have a more simplified version of that? We did, right? We knew that these terms are a plus 4 and b plus 4. Absolutely. So we need that information with us. So we know that this is a plus 4, this is b plus 4. If I put those values, I would get the values of a and b. So if I get to the values of a and b, I can easily calculate the value of a plus b. That's the sum, and that also gets me to the answer for this question. So the second statement is also a sufficient statement for me to answer this question, which tells me that choice D is the correct answer choice for this question. Please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you or not. If there's any question, any doubt, please feel very free to ask that out. Clear? Okay, that is very good. So Okay, please stay on the slide for a minute. Okay, Akash, please take a quick screenshot over here so that you can refer to it, and I'll also share the PDF with all of you so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, perfect. So I hope that all these questions that we did in today's session are clear to all of you, right? Now, what shall be our next steps? If you are a student in the Quant 2.0 course, I'd recommend you going through the Quant course. You need to follow the expert architecture, the expert course architecture. That would save you a lot of time, right? You have to make sure that you master process skills and GMAT skills files, because other than that, it will be a problem, right? Only they will help you solve questions more effectively. And if you are a free trial user, you go to your free trial, understand how the learning architecture is, let's see if it fits you or not, evaluate that, and if you find it helpful for you, you can consider purchasing the full course, right? We have added some new videos and files to your geometry course as well, so you can just go in and check those out. And if you need free if you need videos or recorded lectures, you can always go to our YouTube channel to find out what sessions are happening, right? So with that, I would now like to share the PDF and PDF for this session, and some links to other items. And but in the meantime, I would love to see some comments on how did you like this session. What were your learnings? How did you like the session? Let's see some comments around that. And I've already added the PDF, so if you can, please download it. We'll also share the recording with all of you post the session is complete. Okay, that is very good. And if you want to book a call with one of our strategy experts, you can go to this link and book a call for yourself. If you're not an e-GMAT student, it's only open for you. Right. Okay, I'm so very happy to see these wonderful comments. I hope you learned a lot, and I'm very sure you would become better in geometry and in whole GMAT quant once you start understanding these. Once you start you inculcating these habits into your prep as well, right? Till the next time we meet, I wish you everyone the best of luck and take care of yourself. Have a very good day or a very good night ahead. Bye bye.